Hi Monica, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Really good.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So we just
Mhm.
want to say good afternoon to everyone who's listening. My name's Louise Sullivan, and we have
And
Monica Collins.
I'm Monica Conlon. Hi.
And we're just inviting you along and saying thank you really for listening to our afternoon live session for the Educational Suppliers Collective launch event. So we're very honoured and privileged to be finishing it off the whole day, and it's been a great day. There's been so much going on in terms of the sessions that have been on offer. There's been so many different, I guess, really unusually so many different a variety of sessions for people in many different roles in schools. And Monica, that's not often something we see, is it, in these kind of live events or conference style events when they're done virtually? Quite often it's for leadership or teaching staff.
Yes, and that's why I love this collective, because it's the whole breadth of everyone who works in schools. And it's just great because it's just such a team approach. Education is collaboration. Education is teamwork. So love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we've been really privileged to be a part of this group, Monica, haven't we? Should we talk a bit around who we are, how we met, and also the Education Suppliers Collective? Do you want to start?
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, so I've been a teacher. I've also worked in middle management in high schools, and then I worked in a local authority SEND team, left that and worked as an independent consultant. And I just made a decision one day that I wanted to really look more closely at the solution that I felt I could contribute to. So I've been developing a MIS platform in SEN, as you know. And through that amazing work and working with some absolutely fantastic changemaker Senkos, I came across you in the Education Suppliers Collective, and we met and we just got on straight away, didn't we? We knew we were on the same page. So handing over to you, Louise, and you can explain your journey. We can use that word.
Yeah.
So over to you.
Much like yourself, I've been a teacher, as you will know, and I've been a Senko and safeguarding lead in large secondary, several really large secondary provisions and mainstream. And last year just stepped back from an in-school role and set up my own business to really look at, again, like yourself, I'm very concerned about looking at solutions, and it can be really easy when you're in a system to feel overwhelmed by the issues, and I was always kind of looking for a solution focused approach to those issues. So in the end it became kind of apparent that stepping out of the system was the best way to do that. So I set up this small business, a not-for-profit business, working with children and young people who are at risk of exclusion. So they are high SEMH, social, emotional, mental health needs, as well as often coming from trauma backgrounds, quite extreme. I'm working with a couple at the moment who are currently in care, and there are all sorts of associated conditions with that, of course, that are sometimes seen as traditional SEN, although I don't really like phrasing it in that way. So yeah, we, like you say, we stumbled across each other, which was a lovely kind of serendipitous meeting through the ESC, the Education Suppliers Collective. So we're really lucky that we did that, and we've been able to work together. I'm really grateful for that. So I guess what we should do is talk a little bit about Twitter, because obviously we've been putting the poll out recently to try and find out what are the big issues, because this is the point of this session, is to think about those big issues in SEN currently. But you and I are very keen not to be the only voices, even though we're the ones speaking right now, aren't we? And what did
Oh, this is the problem with Zoom, isn't it?
No, yeah, you go on.
Conversation, like you go, no, you go, you go. No, were you surprised though with the topics that came up on Twitter?
Oh, that's a really great question.
Were you surprised with what, the topics?
No, some I was, but no, I mean that there were kind of the the big ones that people refer to and discuss and debate a lot, the funding and provision issues, lack of special school places, that's been in the media quite consistently for some time now. So those were the two big ones that came up, I guess. And actually anxiety-based mental health difficulties, that's a big one. We all know, even before COVID, wasn't it?
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah,
I guess the lack of specialist input, the availability of specialists, I really hadn't picked up on that one. The voice of SEN leads being ignored, that's quite a common one, sadly.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that one there, because I think that that happens more often than we all can admit. And the whole collaboration, co-production element of SEN is critical. And we've both been mothers and both family members, we've both been teachers, we've both been SEN leads, and we know the stress everyone in those areas are under. But I just really want to highlight today that I totally agree that the voice of the SENCO, the voice of the SEN lead, needs to be much, more visible in any conversations with the local authority about provision, and about saying we can meet need, but we need this, or we can't meet need because this young person's needs are best met somewhere else. And that's where we link into that other issue on Twitter, saying that there aren't enough specialist provision places. And that's fundamental. And it's really links to one of my real passions, is this 15%. Where do we get this 15% of the school population of SEN? We get it through data, but that data's got to be accurate. And then the local authority have to act on that and plan ahead. And it's the lack of planning ahead that means, I meet time and time again young people who have education healthcare plans, because it's right and under the law they should have one, but they can't find a placement for them. So the mainstream SENCO is asked, can you keep this young child, this young person, even though we know you can't meet need completely, you can't deliver section F, because there is nowhere else for the young person to go. So that big picture planning, that system, failure is out of control of the parent, of the carer, of the SENCO. It lies in the system itself. And for years now, all we hear is the system is in crisis, the system in crisis. Yes, we all know the system is in crisis. So what is the solution? And as you said, you and I aren't gurus, we haven't got the answer, but we're trying to contribute to it. So, talk on that, Louise. What I've said, sort of what cropped up for you then as I was doing my little, soapbox moment.
Well, I was just thinking about some of the surprise answers, I guess, the lack of special school places and the funding issues, a lot of these things are overlapping, aren't they? And the one that came up for me that I said was a surprise one was lack of specialist input, but actually, and that overlaps with another response we got of the experience of staff, as in mainstream staff, school staff trying to meet the needs of these children and these young people who are crying out for more support, often in quite aggressive and unpleasant ways, because a lot of us will agree now, most of us will agree now, that behaviour is a form of communication, and it's communicating an unmet need of some description, whatever we might debate that need as being. And for me, it's there's so much more we could do in terms of building the capacity of staff working in mainstream schools right now. And there are some pockets of excellence. Obviously, there is amazing, excellent work going on across the country. People listening to this live session right now are going to be amazing practitioners doing incredible stuff on the ground. And I think the pockets of excellence we have, there's so much to learn from that. So there's some people in particular reaching out, outreach workers from alternative provision, larger than my own, because mine's a bit of a non-traditional alternative provision, and they're doing outreach work into mainstream schools to try and build the experience and the knowledge base of staff who already have that relationship with those young people, hopefully to try and, you know, stop it get to the point where they're being excluded for behaviours that really, if we had the early identification of SEN, they probably would have been picked up as having some kind of need that needed meeting in a different way, other than being rejected from from a school and a community that, whether they admit it or not, will have meant quite a lot to them. And this is such a hot potato on Twitter. You're even a little bit at risk by dipping your toe into this debate right now, because there's so many fiery voices sometimes, in edu Twitter in particular, that make this really difficult to talk about. But we have to talk about it, and often in the debates and in the conversation is where we get to solutions quite often, if we're willing to be open-minded and non-judgmental when we have the debates. So my work has been about that kind of building of capacity of staff in school settings, because I really am quite tired of having off-site provisions for these young people with these needs, where they go and they often have amazing experiences, which I would never ever want to downplay or minimize or dismiss. But quite often they're coming back to the school setting having developed no skills to help them cope in that setting. And also the adults who support them haven't necessarily had that opportunity to develop those skills. There are things that we can do, Monica, like Lego therapy, drawing and talking therapy, and we can be training up our inclusion teams, our TAs, especially our high level TAs, if you're lucky to have, mentors in your school setting, or a wellbeing team, pastoral teams can be learning this stuff, can be going off site to be trained for a day or two, then come back and apply that knowledge within the setting. Those opportunities are all out there. And my setting, my provision, what we're doing is we're bringing staff to see what we do. It's a nature-based learning program. But the point is they come and learn grounding techniques with the child and the young person who's been learning those techniques with me. The staff only come for one session. The children, the young people actually end up teaching the staff what they've learned, so they can then take it back to the context. And again, you've got the so critical voice of the child in that, saying, this is what I've learned here that helps me, and this is what I need back in school to help me cope. And it isn't just a fidget spinner, it's so much, it's much more valuable than that. Hopefully they're learning things that I've learned from therapists and specialists, occupational therapists, play therapists, attachment therapists, really simple techniques that don't actually require you to be a qualified therapist, because you're not delving into their history or their past. You're just learning tools and strategies that anyone can learn, often in a very short amount of time, and then seeing how that has an impact on the child to go back to the school with them. Building the capacity of our teams and the experience of our staff is one way we can be more solution focused, and we could start to kind of, wherever we are, whatever context we're in, start to address some of these issues ourselves.
I totally agree. It's about having the right people in the right place at the right time, isn't it? And and I think that is something that schools could look at, and look at it as their focus, that have we got the skilled staff in-house? And we need them, because the early identification is critical, absolutely critical. And and also commissioning is, which specialist should you commission? Commissioning costs schools money, so there should be a business case for, why are we commissioning that specialist for this young person? Because it's evidence-based, we need this question answering, and that specialist will answer that question most effectively. But then, like you said, just skill up the staff. We both have worked with amazing teachers who say, look at my class. I've got a range of needs here. I'm a good teacher. I want to address them, but I need help and support, and I just think, again, we're entering the area of systems failure here. SEN isn't a silo. SEN is across the school. It's young people whose needs are different and additional to, and therefore require a high level of personalisation. And that personalisation might just last a term, and then because of it, the young person can then say, you know, those barriers have been met, the needs have been met to a high degree. They can, you know, go back into the mainstream universal pot, if you like. But you know, when people see SEN as this separate entity with this separate team that supports them, I think that's where we get difficulties. You know, because if it's right across the school and there's a big picture analysis of what the needs are, then we look at the staff team to support that. Needs are met, personalisation is a reality, and the crisis within the school can, you know, hopefully calm down. I mean, gosh, Louise, we both know how hard this is. We're just both trying to find some hope. Yeah. Because we know there are brilliant Senkos, there are brilliant class teachers, there are brilliant subject teachers, there are brilliant families, there are brilliant young people. But I just don't want to see any more on Twitter or LinkedIn or in the papers, anywhere on the internet, telling me SEN is in crisis. I want the people who can make the big changes get together in a room and just sort this out and listen to the voice of the SEND lead, listen to the voice of the inclusion lead. And one other little thing I've got is, you know, Senkos, and I think this is one of the issues in Twitter as well, this role of the Senko is critical. And in my opinion, this should be in senior leadership and it should be a full-time role. Yeah. Because the scope is there. If the person in that role can really step up, really deliver, again, it's going to contribute to minimizing this crisis. Yeah. So,
yeah, you said that it came up in Twitter, it did, SLT support and the need. And most people, thankfully, when the recruitment is happening, when you see it happening now, most schools are now putting Senkos on SLT, even as associate roles, even if it's not like a long-term or full-time thing, but it's so critical. And I think, or having an inclusion lead on SLT who is supporting the Senko, who really understands inclusion, hasn't just been given it again to them as an add-on, but it's so hard because we know it comes back to, again, the experience of staff. And we can even take it back to, you know, initial teacher training if we were going to go that far, but we haven't got that much time today. No, we haven't. But one of the things...
Have we solved anything?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, what do we do when we're looking for that hope? And because, you know, it is overwhelming when you're in that role, that full-time Senko role, often having million other things to do and teaching and trying to attend your annual reviews and get all of that stuff sorted, the juggling they're all doing. What could we say? Because that's what we really wanted to do today, wasn't it? To give people some hope and to encourage people on the ground, because we know it's tough. What would we want to say to them really in this session as we kind of feel our way? We're feeling our way through the issues. How would we encourage them to do the same?
Yes. I mean, you know, I think those of us in education, we're always used to saying, you know, looking at what's going well, looking at the big impact. Have you got, well, at least it shows that we're live.
We're live, yeah.
Yeah. No, you know, be your own critique and say, look, I've achieved this, I've made a difference here, I've made a difference there, and really focus on that. But go to your senior leaders, tell them what more you could do. And I know that's difficult, I know it's hard, but you know, that just be the voice. And you know, maybe arrange some CPD which can look at the legal requirements, the roles and responsibilities, you know, referring to the legislation, just widen people's knowledge of the big picture of SEN in England, because that's what we're talking about here at this moment. So, because I work internationally now, when I've now studied other national systems, it makes me look back on the English system and think it could be quite effective if the roles and responsibilities were able to actually be fulfilled.
Yeah.
So have that conversation with your senior leaders. Say, look, we can achieve this, and actually it's statutory, and we need to do it. And I've got a plan. So yeah, I'd say just carry on being the assertive professional that you are. What about you? What do you think?
For me, it's a word that you and I talk around a lot, this idea of being a change maker, and it's a vision thing, isn't it? And I think every time you feel like you're losing your way, or you feel a bit despairing of how overwhelming the issues can feel. I mean, obviously this year more than any other year, this academic year, and last year, it's just been, just something that I'm not going to use any of the stereotypical words, because for me, it's impossible to articulate how overwhelming it has been for people. And I think holding on to a vision, knowing what your values are, knowing that big picture that you're working towards, and pulling along your cheerleaders, the people that have always got your back, that will inspire you and encourage you. Hold on to those people, and remember that you're being a change maker. I mean, for you and I, Monica, to be change makers meant stepping out of a system. But while I was in the system, I knew that I was there to affect change, and it was about social change and social justice. And you and I have sociology in our roots, in our backgrounds, and we believe that really, really strongly, that inclusion is about justice in society and equality. And anyone who's a Senko, anyone who's an inclusion lead, will be holding that at the front of everything, at the forefront of everything they do, and just to remind yourself that's what it's about. And quite often we're affecting change in ways we don't even know. I think I've only realized that since I've stepped out of the system, that some of the impact I had on people around me, my colleagues, my inclusion team, my SLT, there were all sorts of people that were around me, the young people as well. I have no idea sometimes the impact I had on those people, and I haven't known that until I left, and other people have told me. So to hold on to that, really, and remember that this is a movement, and we're all there together as part of the movement, even though you can feel very much on your own in a school setting. And I think that idea of us being a movement, for me, it's about chipping away. And if we remember that we're all in our own arena, if you like, or spheres, chipping away, eventually, if you imagine it as a big ice block, eventually, you break through, you have moments of breakthrough, and we're holding on all the time. We're chipping away for those moments of breakthrough, whether that be in the life of an individual young person, when you achieve something really great for them in terms of the provision, or whether it's about something you achieve that's massive for your school context and for the staff that you're working with and alongside. It's looking for those moments of breakthrough and using those to propel you forward.
No, amazing. I mean, have we covered all the areas of Twitter, do you think?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. And that was really important for us, wasn't it? We wanted to listen to the views of everyone. It was really critical for us because we believe so much in everyone being part of the movement.
Yeah, I know there was a few references to funding, wasn't there? And although we haven't focused on it specifically, what we're looking at is saying, Senkos are the voice of the young person. And if specialists have written in their specialist input that, this provision is required, and then if that young person then also receives an educational healthcare plan and it's listed in section F, in both cases, the school has a duty to deliver that provision. But
we were doing so well with our Wi-Fi. Come back, Monica. I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. That's not an unflattering freeze pose, though, is it? Lucky
reviews. That's what they're there for.
Monica, we lost you for a bit there. We lost you for a bit.
Oh, sorry.
It was quite a flattering pose, though, the freeze.
Oh, was it? Oh no! Oh no! It wasn't one of those.
No, it was all right. It was all right. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying use interim reviews. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Use them and provide the evidence and either amend the education healthcare plan or work together collaboratively, co-production, to talk about, you know, the right setting, the right environment. And I know how hard that is, but keep going, keep your voice being listened to. Bring the local authority officers into those interim review meetings and just keep going and keep being strong, because you are the voice of the young person.
Yeah.
And you should be listened to. And that's, you know, so important to me.
It takes quite a lot of courage, doesn't it? But it's so crucial.
It does. It does. It does. And use your Senko clusters to support each other, you know, because I know loads of Senkos who've been really effective, gone through mediation, you know, shown the evidence, proven the legal perspective, you know, just keep going. And there are some amazing solicitors out there and legal, you know, webinars, and learn your law, learn the legal perspective and the legal role, and voice that at these meetings, and be strong and bring the families in and say, you know, we're with you. This is what we want to do. And it isn't, you know, this word battle gets used so often. You know, I work for local authority. I didn't feel I was in a battle with families or schools. And I sincerely hope they never thought that about me. So, you know, be a team, work together. And at the end of the day, everyone is looking at preparation for adulthood. And I just want to flag that up. Everything we're doing is to prepare the best possible adulthood for every young person. And that is, I know you and I really share that mission. So, wow, we've not solved anything. But we've had a chat, and I hope it has been the end of a good day. So do you want to sum up, Louise? You're so good at that. I do.
Thanks.
Passing that back to you.
I think one of the things we've kind of tried to say and focus on is the fact that we, you know, we're all change makers. We're all involved in a kind of a vision, I guess, to make education the best it can possibly be. And one of the things that we always say, Monica, isn't it, that we're just people calling other people to join us on that kind of journey of being solution focused, innovative, being the change makers, and actually ensuring that the system is being led by innovators, advocates for the young person, as you were talking about. But actually, if you take a step back from what we've been talking about in this session, that's what anyone in education is doing, but that's also what everyone in the collective is doing, in ESC, Education Suppliers Collective, which today has been our launch event. And so obviously we're just kind of the ones who get to finish off the day. But the whole day has been about making education the best it can possibly be. So we're a group of suppliers who supply to education, to schools and to trusts. And there are so many of us involved. You can, as a school, become a member of ESC, or if you are a supplier to education, you can also apply to join the group. We're quite small. We came together via LinkedIn through lockdown last year, and it's been incredible finding each other, because it has been this thing that we just became this really kind of strong network of people across the country. We're all smaller businesses. We all offer really high quality, high standard work and projects, and work collaboratively as well in what we offer to schools. So if you want to know any more about us, have a look around our website. There's so much on there that you could read, and you'll be able to see our faces on there and look at our company pages as well. If there is anything you want to ask us, or in any way in which you want to get in touch, you can find out how to get in touch via the website, or you can use our Twitter handles. So hopefully you've seen us on Twitter if you contributed to the poll, and if not, just go and find us. One of the things I guess we should say before we end is thank you to Becky Lampton, who has, and Lee Morris. I believe the two of them from the ESC have done a lot of work. We know they have. They've put this whole thing together for many of us, especially those of us who are a bit more technologically challenged. That's the word I was going for. So thank you to them. And is there anything else we need to say, Monica? Have I covered it all?
No, that was great. No, thank you. No, just I agree with you. The team of people I've met through this collective are inspiring. Their integrity, their desire to, you know, we've all got companies that we really want to make a difference in education. And also we're actually really quite a fun group of people.
Yeah, we like to think we're funny.
Yeah, that's really nice. And so yeah, welcome to anyone who wants to join us as suppliers. And we're all so love working with schools right across every every operation within the school. So yeah, definitely do take a look and see if we can help you, because that's what we're here for.
Oh, one last thing, there are also,
thanks, Louise.
There are some special offers, aren't there? Some of the suppliers in the collective have put on the website some special offers. So if you've attended any of the sessions today, you can access those special offers for this launch event. So please go and take a look at those. Right, Monica, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you to everyone. We hope you've had a really great day. And thank you for viewing and taking part. Monica, you take care too. Bye.
And you. Thanks, Louise. Bye. Bye.